this straight or is it wonky? Camera looks a bit wonky. Anyway. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a video that makes me a little nervous, but on the same time I'm quite excited to share my thoughts with you. So what I'm going to be doing today is reviewing 5 books that I was kindly sent by Sage Education. You will have seen them in vlogs previously because obviously I have been reading them and taking notes on what I like about them, but I've never properly sat down and reviewed them. So that's what I'm going to do now. I have my notes to myself. I've got some useful little things that I want to show you. So without further ado, let's get started. The first book I want to show you is A Practical Guide to Teach Wellbeing by Elizabeth Holmes. Now this book is very useful whether you're a trainee, an NQT, or you've been teaching for years. It's really important to make sure that your well-being is in check in order to be the best teacher you can be. What I really like about this book is that it's got a lot of text. It hasn't got any pictures, but actually it's all really nicely laid out. It doesn't feel like a chore to read. As you can see, if I can find a nice, you know, they've got like a save it for laters and little text boxes, or try this now. They've also got a lot of links, and then, you know, links as in resources that you can go to, and they're not afraid, well, Elizabeth isn't afraid to cover topics that are often kind of a bit taboo in the teaching world. We're very open nowadays in terms of mental health, but I don't think it's mentioned enough in terms of the education field. So they cover things such as stress and anxiety. Oh yeah, so for example, they have this whole chapter on asking for help. So they say about the NHS, your GP, private therapist, health insurance schemes, unions, trusted colleagues, line managers, all these kind of really useful things, and obviously they tell you how they can help and how you can approach them. So I think this is really useful. Another one that is similar, but this is more specifically for trainees, or maybe NQTs, is this book. It's called Your Book Smart, School Savvy, Stress Busting Primary Teacher Training Companion. It's quite a mouthful. It's also by an Elizabeth, but Elizabeth Malone. So this one was by Elizabeth Holmes, this one by Elizabeth Malone. This one is a lot more text heavy. The paragraphs are a lot bigger if I show you. However, there are chapter summaries after each chapter, a little section on further reading, and what I do like is before every chapter, after announcing the name, it also says what it will include. So if you're looking for something, you know, a precise bit of information, then you can just quickly look in what this chapter explores, see if it's relevant to you, and then go for it. It also has these really useful kind of subtitles. It is quite precise towards teacher training. It covers things such as placements and assignments, so it is really useful. A lot more precise in terms of the type of information they give you, whereas this is a lot more general, well-being in general, mental health in general. This is a lot more specific, so if you're looking for something for your training year, I would highly recommend this one. The next book I have is, ooh, it's quite a heavy one. It's called Mathematics Explained for Primary Teachers. Now this is good for everyone. It is really, really colourful. Of course, it's filled with mathematics knowledge. It has 8 sections, which are all nicely colour-coded so you can easily navigate. So you've got the yellow, green, purple. I'll read some of the sections for you. So section A is mathematical understanding. Section B, mathematical reasoning and problem solving. Section C, numbers and calculations. D, further number, concept and skills. Algebra, measurement, geometry, statistics and probability. Now, like with the other book, I like that it has chapter starters at the beginning. So you see it says in this chapter there are explanations for, and then it's got really useful bullet points. So if you need to look at something really precise within subtraction, you can just go to the relevant chapter, see if it's in there, and then navigate really, really quickly. I also love how the pages are really, really colourful. Knowing mathematics can sometimes be quite a bland subject. They really put lots of colour in, useful text boxes. There's always learning and teaching points throughout the chapter. They also do little experiments at the end. They call a research focus. That's always at the end of the chapter. I also like that, if I can find it, I also like that they do self-assessment questions so that you can check your understanding and make sure that, you know, you're familiar with what you're teaching. There is also a student workbook that you can get alongside this to accompany this book, filled with exercises. I personally don't have that, but that is available on Amazon as well. You also, when you get this book, you also get a free access to an interactive ebook, and on this front cover is just lots of details of how you can access that online. It's just a simple download. But yeah, it is really helpful. The only thing I would say is it is quite dear, but actually if you think about it, it's got 500 pages. It covers the whole curriculum. It makes sure you understand what you're doing. It gives you self-assessment tools and explanations on every topic, as well as examples. So yeah, it's really helpful. And also, like, as you can see, it's just nicely laid out on a page, you know. And actually I think when you're doing CPD or looking for lesson inspirations or explanations, that's really, you know, important, because learning has to be engaging for us as well. So that's what I have to say about that. Another CPD book or subject knowledge enhancement book is Explaining Primary Science. This is a book filled with 19 chapters covering different topics. Again, it's by coloured sections, so it's really easy to find your way through. You know, each new chapter has a really nice front cover. It's filled with really good ideas on things you can do in the classroom. So it is just full of activities. So you see, this is just one example. All of these text boxes are a different activity. This is regarding chemical changes. So for example, this activity is about invisible ink. This one is inflating a balloon without blowing, the volcano, all these kind of things. Really lovely. Then also you've just got your normal explanations here to make sure that you understand, again, what you're teaching. I found that when I was doing the subject knowledge audit for my skit, that actually you just assume because it's primary that you know everything, but there are a lot of things that I myself wasn't familiar with, or that I couldn't explain it to children. You know, there's a difference between knowing something and being able to explain it. So this has been really helpful for me. They also have learning objectives, almost like a lesson. They have learning objectives, an overview, and they have chapter summaries as well. The other thing I would say that I think you should be aware of before purchasing this is that it doesn't have as big of an emphasis on assessing. So there isn't that much on assessments or assessing scientific skills. But that's the only negative I have to say about this. The last one I have to share with you is this one. Now for me, this has probably been the most useful book. It's called Teaching Systematic Synthetic Phonics in Primary Schools. Now my volunteer experience before I started my skit, as well as my main placement during the skit, has been in year 4. So I would say my phonics subject knowledge isn't the best that it could be, and it isn't nearly as good as those who are based in Key Stage 1. So it is really useful. It covers the development of phonological phonemic awareness, so from when they're babies all the way to obviously school age. It also has a little audit and test section, which are in a slightly different page colour, unless that's just my eyes going funny. And then it also naturally gives you the answers, as well as activities that you can do with the children. It's quite easy to be like, okay, I know how to pronounce the phase 2 and phase 3 sounds, I'll be fine, just repeat them. But it's not that simple. This has got loads of ways to teach the tricky words. It mentions puppets, storytelling, role play. Yeah, it's really good. I have used this personally in my assessments as well. That's another point. You could use this, the primary science book, the mathematics book. If you plan to be a subject lead in future, this is really handy. But also if you want to do assessments on particular subjects. I'm using this for my current assignment, hence these post-it notes. I'm kind of talking about the development of phonics and how we can teach that effectively. So just for a recap of the titles, I'm going to move close to the camera so you can see. This is the Teaching Systematic Synthetic Phonics in Primary Schools. This is from the Transforming Primary QTS, and it's the 3rd edition. I'll just hold that there in case you need to make a note. This is the kind of Wellbeing one that was more specific for trainee teachers. Your Book Smart School Savvy Stress Busting Primary Teacher Training Companion by Elizabeth Malone. The more generic Teacher Guide to Wellbeing was the Practical Guide to Teacher Wellbeing by Elizabeth Holmes. The mathematics book is called Mathematics Explained for Primary Teachers. This is the 6th edition by Derek Haylock and Ralph Manning. Just hold that up there for you. And finally, Explaining Primary Science by Paul Chambers and Nicholas Suter. This is the 2nd edition. So that's all the books that I have to review. There's probably points that I've missed out on these post-it notes, which is going to bug me afterwards. But I hope that this book review was useful for you. It's very waffly. I'm a very waffly person. But yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more teacher content. I'll see you next time. Bye!